Are you there? Oh, there's humans. There's humans. Oh, we got 0 people watching. Hello, 0 people watching. Caffeinated ham.
You never had Monster Energy ham?
No. I generally
I thought it was supposed to be lemonade.
I was about to say they sell it at
The
Panera.
Death Lemonade.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's Monster Energy ham. It's you can get it. It's definitely a real thing. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. I was gonna try and make like a ham bowl joke or something. I'm like, no, I use pork bowl or I don't know.
Let's go with the
dog
pineapple
is
joke.
on alert.
A pineapple joke.
Oh, that's an awesome sweater, though.
Look at the doggo in the sweater.
Extreme close up.
Oh. Is it that cold, Ryan?
Yeah, I was gonna say it is.
It's a little chilly.
For a Florida.
I actually don't know what the temperature is at the moment.
It was 67 when I walked downstairs.
Yeah, here too. And it's really windy, so it's really like 20.
Right. Yeah, people don't realize that about Florida. Like, we went out to South Dakota for Wild West Hackin' Fest, and my wife, who's hates the cold, hates the cold, was like, oh, I'm going to have to bundle up and whatever. Where she'd generally throw on a jacket in Florida and be like, I'm freezing to death. Because of all the humidity, it feels like you're freezing to death. You go out to South Dakota, it's like, oh, it's 50. It's like, oh, maybe I'll throw on a jacket. It's okay.
Not only does Ryan have the nicest toys, he has the nicest flannel shirts too.
That's true.
I take issue with that statement. That's not even real flannel. That's like a. That's never even cut down a tree.
Is that gingham?
Dare you? I guarantee.
That's like a dress shirt. That's like a dress shirt. It's like a nice. Like
I'm
nice
an
shirt.
authentic New Englander.
That's
I
right.
must say.
Mm-hmm. Did you get
I've
that?
earned this flannel. They give you flannel when you're born in New England.
How many
you know?
trees have you tapped? How many trees have you tapped?
About 4.
All right, that's enough.
That's 4 more than
Have
me.
you really tapped a tree?
No.
Oh man, you could have told me it was. I would have believed it.
You should have.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, totally, twice on Sunday. No, did that one come from the homeland though? From the
I actually don't know if this one's authentic. I don't think it is. I'd have to.
It just looks
look
like
at
a
the tag.
dress shirt to me. It doesn't have like the soft flannel, sawdust absorbing vibes.
Are you sure?
I feel, yeah. You know what? I feel like you're being a little Oregon bias.
As someone who cut down trees, wearing flannels while cutting down trees is not a good thing.
I will say we don't even have a state tartan for those deep cuts that people know what a tartan is. It's like a plaid pattern basically, and there are like some states have adopted an official tartan, and not Oregon. There was a long debate, and many tartans were suggested, but none of them were officially approved. So
That's
it's just sad. We're not even we don't even have an official flannel. I mean,
California state.
So speaking of tartans, I just watched Highlander again this weekend. What a good movie.
which which one? The first one?
There can only be one, Ian.
The original. I am Hunter McLeod of the Clan McLeod.
Yeah.
California has a state tartan. I'm gonna go buy one.
all the best states do. Sob.
That's not
Yeah,
true. Florida probably.
I have a couple
does.
tartans that I can wear. So
Florida
tartans.
definitely doesn't have one. They're like, what's that? Is that for warm?
You know what? Surprisingly, it might though because tartan. Florida has a tartan.
Really?
There's
it's not
a
in the
couple-
Wikipedia list of U.S. state tartans.
Oh well, it's in the Scottish Register of Tartans from the UK.
Anyway, welcome to our fabric podcast, where we talk about how to attach Velcro, how to attach zippers, and that's about all my fabric knowledge.
No, it's talking about textiles.
You gotta be careful
Talking
though.
about
Zipper providers
textiles.
get hacked. All right, like you don't want the hacked.
If Joanne
zippers.
Fabrics gets hacked, we're all going down.
Was it a Joanne Fabrics?
Classified zippers.
Surprise to no one.
Wait, we did actually talk in the past about YKK, the zipper company, getting hacked.
did,
yeah.
That
That's
actually
why I
happened.
said, yeah.
We made all the
Yeah.
.zip jokes then, and now we can bring them back.
That's also the official zipper of the hacker hoodie too. So be careful.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, really?
he's so funny. Like,
yeah.
like
If you look at the
suddenly,
Rekka hoodies, they have YKK zippers.
Oh, this one does too. This is a Darknet Diaries hoodie.
like suddenly.
So I have
Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I was just going to say, I had to be equal opportunity here. We've commented, Ryan, on his very nice duds. Ian, you're looking very sparkly and very fabulous. But I also have to say, Shecky and Alex are bringing in the traditional look, and I like it. And Corey, you're hiding your hair again. What's going on?
I'm not hiding anything.
Yes, you're hiding something.
That's actually the official statement of someone that's hiding something.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what I meant is I'm hiding many things.
You wouldn't believe what I'm hiding in here. I actually got a sign. I haven't put it up yet in the office. As some of you know from working with me, I've become addicted to Temu. And so they have all these signs. So I've got danger. This sign is distracting. Don't let it draw away from your attention from something that needs to be completed.
That's like a real meme, I think. I've seen that sign.
But this is the one I was just thinking of. I haven't hung up yet. It's outside my office. Many of these I like this one too. Beware of. Just beware. Yeah, and I like this one. This one's caution. Private road or private sign.
Private sign, do not read.
So which one goes on the restroom door?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Well,
during the holidays, while we're off, this back wall's getting redone. So when we come back, that's why all that's down there.
That's gonna be a chore.
It is, and it's getting a TV panel, so I can do stuff back there on it, and all. It's gonna be bonkers.
This is the sign I was thinking of.
They're rounded too. That's the worst part. I would want to touch.
They mean like the actual edge, not like the
okay.
you know. They mean like
One thing my dad always taught me is if there's not a sign saying you can't do it, go for it. That means like you'll be the first, and then they make the sign.
I'm thinking of the Simpsons one that's like no trespassing. Then it's like I'm a sign, not a cop.
I use that in so many compliance lectures when I was teaching. That was like the first slide. This is compliance.
Should we get going?
Are we gonna? Yeah, are we gonna?
Where are we going, Ryan? Are we there yet?
We're going to talk about the news. This is the last time.
Last news of the year. And
yes, last news
and
of
no
2023.
hacking in our hightus. We're not going to be here next week, so no hacking or news allowed.
Nothing will happen.
Nothing
It's
will
going to be peacetime for cybersecurity.
Yep, we're declaring a cease. Before
we roll the intro, I will say we will be back on January 8th, officially in 2024.
Nice.
All right, now that we've taken care of that business, let's go for it.
roll the finger.
Roll. Hello and welcome to Black Hills Information Security Talkin Bout the news. I hope you brought your tacos. It is December 18th, 2023, aka the last news of 2023. We've specifically requested a cease packet for the next 2 weeks where we will be on hiatus, returning January 8th, 2024. And that was an awesome intro, Ian, so thank you.
That was all Kurt. So
Kurt's not here, so I'm just going to give you the middle manager treatment and say 3 demerits, or 3 gold stars for you and your team.
We'll do this.
We need a Rekka tartan. He's totally right.
We don't have a BHIS tartan. So I mean, what happened? We got CVS, Walgreens giving out records to law enforcement. We got Discord features improvements. We've got Ubiquity being fed access to strangers' secret cameras. We've got all kinds of bad things.
Oh, wait. I
and
have
Cartels.
some video to delete then.
Cartels.
If Ubiquity has been leaking video. Okay. I'll be right back.
And our cast includes Ryan, definitely real flannel. Definitely not living in Florida. We've got Shecky, who took a couple weeks off, but now he's back. Thank God. We've got Belouv. Is it Belouv? I'm just going to say Belouv.
Yeah, you got it right.
We've got Belouv and his definitely not creepy mannequin. We've got Wade, a.k.a. John Green.
Okay. Somebody knows who this shirt is. All right.
We've got Sequel Claus. That's pretty funny. Don't forget to add a semicolon when you address him. And we've got Kelly bringing in the well-lit bookshelves. So you can see all the books.
That's all you got, Corey?
If you're watching in 4K, you can
got?
read all the books. If you're you have to turn on the highest definition camera.
Can confirm. I'm reading those books as we do this. Like,
And I immediately go right down to the IKEA octopus on the bottom.
That's one of the books.
I got my sharks over here.
I was gonna say the Rubber Chicken Award is my favorite. So
Mm.
that was from Way West, right? I believe.
That one's from Way West, yeah.
Yes.
I remember my conferences.
All right,
right in on
let's
that
get
because
started.
I made it. So I was just like, yes, that's right. Oh wait, he's asking Kelly.
And y'all missed the sign above my head.
What's the sign say about
What does
that?
it say?
Let's get a spot on that.
Naughty,
Naughty
and
nice. Covering all the bases. I like it.
Yep.
That's a
I'm on
good
both
password.
lists.
That gets my password spray of the week recommendation. Naughty
got it.
ampersand nice. Capital N, capital N.
Winter exclamation mark. Naughty
It
and
meets
nice.
complexity. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about cartels. I guess that
Ooh,
seems like a
yeah,
bad way
this
to
one's-
kick it off, but let's kick
We-
it off. So the article is from Vice News. It's talking about how the headline is cartels are using a police database to track and target their enemies. Apparently, they're piggybacking on technologies designed for local governments. How they're tapping them, I'm not sure. The software is called Titan, has been used by several Mexican state governments, a source familiar with the program said. It can geolocate people in real time, access to minute-by-minute location logs, and obtain official identification documents. So potentially this is like law enforcement corruption issues in Mexico where they're basically impersonating law enforcement or they have corruption contacts in law enforcement, and they're using them to purchase for, I guess they're also available on the black market. So unknown if they're using, is it corruption based or is it?
This isn't the first time we've seen the Mexican cartels using, I would say, military grade cybersecurity, right? Like there was rumors.
Well,
that
I
they
would
were
call
using...
this data brokers, right?
Would you
Like,
call it
that's how
data
I
broker?
I would call it data brokers.
Government grade though, because it's
Yes, definitely
geolocation, right? So that's
Exactly.
like next level. I
would call it,
remember
like,
they did
law.
use Pegasus back in the day to hack journalist cell phones and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I remember it was one of the cell phone hackers. I don't remember if it was exactly Pegasus, but they were actively using it to do gnarly stuff.
This article, I mean, I've talked to a few people in the OSINT community that have told me specifically they're going after these kinds of tools as data sources because they're supposed to be like, it should be law enforcement only, but it isn't always that way. And as we can see, if they're being advertised for roughly $600 to $9,000, which is classic price range for scammers, the $600 one is definitely a scammer. You know, on a WhatsApp group managed by a council, which includes criminal organizations and supposedly Mexican state officials. So I guess if you have some experience with this, I mean, I would basically say these, from a privacy and data collection perspective, these location like tracking data brokers are typically, they use like advertising. They have basically device IDs for each device, and they use like advertising hits for, you know, when this device hits this ad or this list, if that's correct. I don't know if Alex.
Did you read all the
way?
way? Did you read down to the bottom where it said Vice News actually got access to it and used it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of
That
curious
sounds
as to how. You know, some of the things that. So I tried looking up the software too and found some other articles. Didn't quite find the software yet, but it does say that it's like they don't get the software; they get the licenses, and the licenses were sold to some of the state police and. The licenses were sold to the state police. I saw in other articles, like, you know, they, the people who spoke with Vice News, it was a different article, said that they believe the platform was used a lot more by criminals than by law enforcement to find missing persons in the country, of which there are about 100,000. So this kind of, I'll read I'll read up on this a little bit more, but this kind of irks me that there's this tool that is being called out that law enforcement is not using to find missing persons. So, and instead, those licenses are winding up in the hands of criminals to use them. So, if it's a license-based thing, then you sold a bunch of licenses to law enforcement.
I mean, it could be corruption. It could also be these law enforcement agencies definitely have been hacked. We've seen this. We've talked about it.
It could be too.
Yeah.
I didn't read anywhere where it's saying how it's getting geolocation data.
Oh, it says SS7.
Does it?
And I've actually seen, so I will link it. I'll find it and link it. I actually found like on the dark web, which is a fake word that I just made up. I found a blog that someone wrote about geolocating people using SS7, but it was not like, it was basically required you to essentially monitor for like basically have like a femto cell and be monitoring for like certain activity, if that makes sense. I'll link the blog. It's kind of interesting, but like this SS7, for those that don't know, is as the protocol used for text messaging. Apparently, like law enforcement has access to device IDs, tying those to locations. So it's probably just a data set created by.
I honestly don't know if I would want the
providers.
police to have this anyway, right? Like this is
I
pretty
think the
gnarly.
I think the funniest thing about this, when you read through the article, is the cartel source who shared Titan's login credentials with Vice. It says, doesn't know who's behind the company, but he goes on in quotes, they don't buy the software, they buy they buy licenses. For example, I can assure you that I sold 1,000 license to the Jalisco State Police and some 500 to the Nuevo Leon State Police. The cartels are selling these licenses to the police.
Wait. That how you read that?
What?
The cartel source, that's exactly what it says here. The cartel source goes on to say that he was the one that sold up to 1,500 licenses to different state polices. Right in the article.
Oh,
right
I
after
read
they
that.
talk about SS7.
And I read that as the person who was the source for the news story. So they were saying that, and I could be wrong, I could be interpreting that wrong, but that they were the source for the news story, confirming that yes, these specific licenses, and they had sold to these other people, not that the cartels were selling them back. Which, to be fair, after Harambe was shot, who knows what's going on in the timeline.
Scroll up a little bit, Ryan. You'll see where it says, because it says the cartel source. That's why I was
login credentials. Yeah,
cartel source who shared Titans,
and he's the one that's, and that source is the one that's quoted.
Wow.
That sounds to me like the cartels are selling this stuff.
Possibly.
I'm guessing that this is like some vendor. Like this is I don't know.
The cartels are the vendor.
Sure.
No, I think it. I think it is more. Here's my guess for how this business model works, and this is totally a guess. I'm not in this world, but I'm guessing that essentially you have a provider that has this data and says, okay, we're tapping into the U.S. law enforcement network. Let's tap into the Mexican law enforcement network, because obviously they have border patrol and all the same stuff. But basically, they're trying to tap into that Mexico market. Someone is reselling the product and is also including cartel members in their, resale.
Yeah, so I'm looking through. Yeah, I'm looking through some other articles, and it doesn't seem as though the software is Titan. The software is called Titan, but that's not what the government owns. The government owns the database.
Got it.
And the adversaries made the software called Titan in order to access their database. So it's not like they're stealing licenses to a government software. They're just using it to basically just pull data.
But the data,
from
the
that
original data is sourced from law enforcement databases. So it's like someone somewhere has either an exposed API key or a, basically insider threat account that is collecting data and packaging it up and selling it to cartels.
So then that sort of makes sense that he's selling the licenses also to,
right?
The state police that go, hey, you have a tool that queries our own database probably better than our own tool queries the database. So they're buying that. They're buying it for their use. The criminals are buying it for also their use.
Yeah.
Although there was the point also made by a source, different article again, that these cartels aren't going to find anybody that law enforcement or the government doesn't put in the database. Like if the government doesn't want that person found, they'll have them removed from the database, so that if you search for them, you're not pulling that data from the database.
Hey, Ryan.
What if this is all just a trap and they're monitoring for who's searching the databases and who they're searching for?
Oh, you have much faith in
Yeah,
them.
you have way too much confidence.
Well, even if they were, what is it going to be like? Oh, we tracked this to a phone in, Juarez. All right, that case is closed.
Yeah.
Ryan, Ben from KC put in a quote here, because I think I actually have the ability to go. So Ben from KC's got, wait, there's a potentially corrupt Leo law enforcement officer that gave insider information to criminals? That never happens. I'm here by the way, to do a pantomime of how this works for you. Okay, so you're a corrupt official in the government, and one of these cartel folks comes up and says, "I'm going to put a gun to your head, and you can choose what comes out." And they go, "Money," and they go, "Okay, cool," and they go, "Okay, I got the money," and then they get access. So
Those were real hundreds.
you know how I roll.
I like how Ian just had that, or I mean, sequel clause just had that ready, semicolon.
How do you think I pay the elves, man? Just boom, cash to the face.
They got
For those
paid with milk
listening
and
to
cookies.
podcasts, I just shot a cash gun at my face.
Yeah, those on audio, we just saw Ian get like self cash gun to the face.
I like how you paused for a second. Like, wait, there's a word for this that I can't use.
I want to think of a word. Yes, the word gets us put on the naughty list.
Right.
And we don't want to be on that naughty list.
No, we're a family-friendly show.
We're family friendly, exactly.
Okay, guys. So what are we supposed to learn from this article, in your opinion?
My opinion is, number one, data brokers need to very, very closely track who has access to their databases. And this is something we haven't seen any regulations or other things. It's just kind of like, hey, this is really bad. Here's a bunch of U.S. Congress people's personal information or geolocations. And then nothing has happened to my knowledge. There's supposed to be data sources restricted. They're not being appropriately restricted, whether it's not monitoring, insider threats, too much money involved, whatever it is. I think my opinion is we need to be very closely controlling who can access this data, because it's incredibly dangerous. Like Alex said, maybe they have blacklists of who can't be queried, but if you can just type in, Trump's phone number or whoever and just get their exact down to the second or down to the minute geolocation, this is a huge security threat for basically anyone that has a high profile. So that's crazy.
Yeah, depending on who's all in the database, because that would be odd to have all like the cell data and criminal history data for somebody not in Mexico. But I can absolutely see where the cartels would pull the information on people in country that they're trying to find.
Oh, it's definitely being used on U.S. citizens too, like 100%.
At the bottom of that, at the bottom of that article, at the bottom of the article, it says there's a service where they just delete your criminal records in Mexico. Like that.
Do you have a lot of criminal records in Mexico, Wade?
There's. I don't recall. Right. That was the proper legal term.
He can neither confirm or deny whether he has a criminal record.
My lawyer has told me, "Donde está la charges?" I don't know what that means.
Oh, and you can pay to post fake charges against someone.
Oh, no.
Well, the seriousness of the issue, though, is physical security of people is something we all value and we all try and protect. So, yeah, while this may be across the border, your point is well taken that is getting used against Americans. We just may not know about it yet. And maybe an article like this not only scares the bejesus out of us, but maybe it also gets the attention of some of our Congress people.
I mean, hopefully. I can tell you that like the Congress people have already been made very well aware of their data being on data brokers, and we've seen no movement so far. I think John Oliver over a year ago now did a thing about data brokers, but as far as whether it's being used against as we know, we've talked about it already on the show, corrupt law enforcement, using this to geolocate their ex-wives or their ex-wives' new boyfriends or etc. Like there are documented cases of this type of thing happening. So definitely the risk is there, whether or not it's in Mexico or it's in the U.S. The data needs to be more appropriately protected, in my opinion. But it's like we don't have any data protection procedures for like up-to-date geolocation information. It's not considered to be a sensitive piece of data, so it's not regulated as such, at least not to my knowledge.
No, we saw that a while back when I think it was the New York Times did an amazing article. It might have been Vice. Forgive me if I got the reporters wrong, but they did an amazing article where they used that S7 data around the White House, and they could start making predictions based on where they saw this location, and they were just buying it. Which is really, I think, Kelly, to your point, the truly terrifying thing is that a lot of law enforcement agencies will straight up tell you, I can't get that data without a warrant. But if you signed it away and I can go buy it, I can get it immediately. And that's how a lot of law enforcement agencies are just avoiding those types of issues, saying, "Oh, we have to do a wiretap. We have to get this from a judge. We have to do that." No, we'll just buy the data, just like advertisers do.
Yep. So speaking of potential abuses by law enforcement, now we found out that CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens hand out medical records to cops without a warrant. Yay.
Yay. Well, it's a good thing that so much of our medical is moving to like behind a little counter at Walgreens. I mean, it's fine. Everything's fine.
It's interesting that this doesn't violate HIPAA. Like, that was my first thought when I read this. And
How
then,
does
like,
this not violate HIPAA? How are they not a business associate as a pharmacy?
pharmacists are not violating regulations under HIPAA. The pharmacies pointed to language in HIPAA regulations that allow healthcare providers, including pharmacists, to provide medical records if required by law, with subpoenas being sufficient legal process of such a request.
Okay, well, wait. So the way the headline
wait,
right?
Subpoena versus warrant? Isn't a subpoena trump a warrant? Or
I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
That's
thought they
what
were
that-
the same thing. Are they not the same thing?
I think
I guess not.
I think a subpoena
Kelly?
can be used in
Kelly?
a civil case as well. Like, I think a subpoena can't see. I can sue you and then like do a subpoena for discovery, but
I generally think of
I
myself.
think Kelly is sitting there
Yeah,
like
Kelly, what-
waiting for us to just taking the humor of us trying to define the terms when she would
Right.
have more expertise.
I actually don't. You stumped me, and like I've said before, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a GRC person.
According to Google,
That's pretty close.
Yeah. Fat Man
According
Will
to
says
Google,
according to
a warrant-
ChatGPT, who
No.
we know is a great legal aid from previous news articles.
a warrant allows search, seizure, or arrest to be made by an officer. A subpoena asks persons to appear in court or testify as witness or produce evidence such as papers, forms, materials, information. So a warrant is used for arrests.
That makes sense.
Subpoena is used to get the papers.
Well, if I could even simplify that further, I think the subpoenas are used to force you to give up evidence, whereas the warrants are used to allow them to search for evidence you won't give up, is what that's
Yeah. So basically, the main thing is this is a privacy thing, and especially in the article they talk about, now that we're in a post-Dobbs era, meaning basically abortion drama, like certain states might be like, hey, we need this information. If I'm a super, fundamentalist cop in a certain place and say, hey, I need access to all the people who have gotten this procedure, all the people who have gotten this contraceptive or whatever it is, I can just get that list with no questions asked. This is a problem. It's the same thing with when we saw in the past in Ring video doorbells. You could just say you were law enforcement and say that the request is an emergency, and it would be immediately allowed, no matter what, whether there was any proof or documented evidence of that or a
Do
judge
you
had
think
signed
when CVS gets asked for this that they just print it on a receipt and hand it to you?
a really long receipt? Like they're like, here you go. Here you
Their
go.
receipts are so long already. It's just a regular receipt for them.
You have to like wrap it around your chest like 15 times and like carry it out. It's like 10 pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
There's
when,
coupons on the back of it for cough drops.
yeah, when I read up on this, and people were saying,
legal aid is what. Go ahead, Alex.
yeah, people were asking about what about your privacy? What about your rights? One of the things that came up was a reference to the ACLU and the 100-mile border zone, to where your Fourth Amendment rights kind of can be suspended within 100 miles of a border. Which, if you look at like what that encapsulates, is like 60% of the U.S.
It's all of Florida, by the way.
Well, thank
Yeah, it's
God
all
that
Florida.
Borders
It's a bunch of
bookstores went out of
like,
business.
I'm sitting here in the Milwaukee area, and I'm like, how am I within 100 miles of a border? And apparently, they count Lake Michigan as a border.
Michigan is a foreign state.
But yeah, Michigan
Yeah,
is
Detroit
apparently
is.
encapsulated too.
That's right.
So it's one of those weird things to where, I mean, yeah, we talk about we want to stand up and advocate for our privacy rights, although there are a lot of laws that they encroach upon that constantly.
I mean, can we just acknowledge the fact that the OOP has tried to secede several times? That's why it's yeah.
What's the oop?
I don't know why Wisconsin
A
fights
little
over
bit
that.
of Michigan that's
can have
like
it.
up there.
Oh, the
Upper
Upper
Peninsula,
Peninsula?
right?
Yeah,
the Upper
yeah,
Peninsula.
the-
Who
Wisconsin's
who,
hat.
Someone from BHIS lives in the Upper Peninsula. I can't remember who.
We can't disclose their name or location.
Oh yeah, that's probably that's
You have to get that from the Mexican cartels if you want.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sign up for the Juarez Law Enforcement Department.
It's only
I think
600.
This is
this medical data,
thing.
like, what do you think they're using it for, particularly, right? Like, the first thing I would think is mental stability cases, right? That type of thing, or possibly, right? Or the
Dobbs
my
thing
main
is
thing.
definitely a thing. It's saying like, hey, this person committed a crime in our state. We're going to go ask some other state whether they received a procedure or aftercare meds or whatever for a procedure in another state, and then go arrest them. Or you know, like you said,
properly.
Yeah,
like if they're on any type of like antipsychotic meds, they would go there, ask for it, and they'd be like, all right, he already has several warnings. We checked he's on meds. We're going to take away his guns.
I mean, that's wishful thinking, but no, probably not
it's
that.
Wishful thinking. We know it's not going to happen.
It's probably not that. I would guess that I think that whole thing is handled at least on a federal level by like the FBI or whatever. But I would guess probably it's used for, you know, like you said, mental health crises and things like that to, you know, at least me looking at it cynically, I think probably being used to stack up cases against certain individuals to say, now we can go to a judge and say, and by the way, they were on this and this at the time, and then this happened, or, you know, that kind of thing. It's private information, but
I can only
not
speak
private.
I can only speak to Florida, but we had the huge like opioid problem here, not just the epidemic, but we're kind of the source of it, where people would fly in from Kentucky and whatnot and just get prescriptions for thousands of pills. And I don't mind sharing it, whatever. I take Vyvanse for ADHD, and Florida is so crazy about how they control those drugs, that it would not surprise me if like it hit a database and they said, hey, Walgreens, has this person showed up to get Sudafed more often than not? Because we also have like a meth case going against them or something. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
or
that's,
hey,
that's
this
where
person
I was gonna go.
Yeah, like, hey, this person's having a DUI. What prescription meds are they on? Or like other, you know.
Yeah, no, I hate that we're talking about this, because what it does is it stigmatizes further people who need or are worried about getting the medication they need, and then having, you know, it turned into something. I'll give you a really good example. Like
in court.
In court, yeah.
Yeah, in court. That's the thing. Like this is now admissible evidence.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, Your Honor, I smelled marijuana, it's gonna be like, Your Honor, we subpoenaed it from Walgreens and they've gotten, 15 prescriptions for different, muscle relaxers, or I don't know, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, we really need a federal privacy law, not just for specific things like healthcare and education and things like that. We really need a federal, because I'll give you a really good example of this. One, I'd like to go back a couple comments. I'm going to pull it up, Ryan. Proxmox put a book up here. I highly recommend this to anyone who's like, well, I don't have anything to hide. Why would I be worried about people learning my medications? The book is called 3 Felonies a Day. It's short. It's only about that. It's only, for those who are listening, it's only maybe, I don't know, less than half an inch thick. And
the size of a Christmas cookie.
Exactly. Yeah, about a sugar cookie. I like your theming. Yeah. Either way, it goes through and explains, here's all the felonies that you do every day, and you probably don't even realize it. But if the police want to press this issue, they can, and they can use it to corner you and make you plead to something else. The real example of this is, imagine, this is what I worry about. Say you have somebody who has depression and they need antidepressants, and suddenly it gets into public record that they have antidepressants, where it's subpoenaed through, subpoenaed in this case.
It ends up in a case where someone's suing them, and then,
Well, worse than that, say it's a child custody case, and their depression is completely under control. They're fine, but now that public record being out there, they might have that used against them in a custody case with their children. I think that's terrible, because now you've got someone having to make a choice. Do I get the meds I need, or do I make sure that this person doesn't have anything to hold against me in court? And that's just not okay.
So the answer is, when you get prescriptions, definitely get them under a fake name.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you know what we recommend is you get in touch with your local cartels.
That's right.
Get in touch.
I get all my opioids under the name Corey Ham.
They'll probably get in touch with you, knowing the records they have. So
yeah,
don't
get
worry
in touch
about
with
it.
your
Just
local
sit in
cartels.
the-
They have access to all kinds of stuff they don't have at Walgreens. Okay.
What if we
No,
find out that that's how spam works? They find out like who wants drugs, and that's how they send you things like, "Oh, you want heroin? We know you do."
Like, wait a second.
Okay, guys, I got to
okay.
rein this back in for a second here.
Please do.
Let's talk about HIPAA and HIPAA enforcement, Health and Human Services. There has been, those of you who've been in the HIPAA space for a long time know that HIPAA is, well, it's kind of squishy. It basically says you should do good things around cybersecurity, not the most prescriptive regulation we have. This past year, as we're kind of doing this year-end roundup and talking about news articles, there has been new guidance released in 2023 in an effort to update HIPAA guidance and more clear guidance from Health and Human Services. So they've released a new cybersecurity strategy, and one of the things is they want to set cybersecurity performance goals for the healthcare sector. And some of these performance goals, yeah, they're self-reporting. But, as we've talked about in this podcast, is there's been an incredible stream of ransomware, just unbelievable this year, especially targeting large hospitals. So I think this issue that HIPAA isn't enough to protect our healthcare sector is being heard. They're also trying to incentivize healthcare organizations to do better security. Now, I know that sounds kind of namby-pamby, not very well articulated. But the point I'm trying to bring up here is there is definitely room for improvement with healthcare regulations and with HIPAA. And I hope that this story brings that more attention that it deserves.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
So when are we getting? Okay, so I'm thinking like, first of all, let's just draft our quick federal privacy law. Number 1, geolocation data should be considered sensitive, period. Number 2, warrantless healthcare data disclosure should be HIPAA violations. And also, can we get like a privacy focused pharmacy? Like I know these places do exist. I think it's just careful. You got to be careful with where you get your drugs. And apparently it's going to be coming from the Church of Satan in certain states. So there's that.
Well,
did you notice that Walmart wasn't on that list? So
no, Walmart was on the list.
First off,
wasn't? Oh, never mind then.
First off, my pharmacist, Reggae Steve down the street, is very privacy focused. Okay, he doesn't want anyone knowing what he's selling.
So yeah, basically to set the story straight of exactly which certain pharmacies, if you're shopping for a pharmacy, in the article they say that 3 pharmacies, CVS, Kroger, and Rite Aid, say they don't require pharmacy staff to consult legal professionals before responding to law enforcement. So essentially, assume that your information can be disclosed without contacting you or without someone signing off on it. The rest of the companies, which were Amazon, Cigna, Optum Rx, Walmart, and Walgreens, require that law enforcement requests are reviewed by internal legal professionals. And only Amazon, shockingly, out of all the companies, Amazon says they have a policy of notifying customers of law enforcement demands for pharmacy records, unless they were specific legal prohibitions. So I guess like if you have to pick a national grade pharmacy, pick Amazon. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, I mean, somehow they're the most privacy focused. However, they will sell you. They'll be like, because you like Vyvanse, have you tried snorting Adderall?
I mean, or use your private pharmacies, because none of the places that I go to are on that list because they're smaller pharmacies.
Yeah.
Cartel Inc.
No, not Cartel Inc. That is a requirement in some of like the northern states, is that it has to be a private pharmacy, which is why, and I know this because they didn't have Walgreens for the longest time in North Dakota with a pharmacy inside, because the pharmacy needed to be at least 50% owned by a private pharmacist.
Oh, they have Wall Drug. Wait, no, it's South Dakota.
Oh, that's in South Dakota.
South Dakota, sorry.
I've got Wall Drug magnets on my fridge now.
Yep. All right, let's get less depressing. Who's got a fun one?
No, who
got caught? Has anyone gotten caught?
Yeah. Oh, I don't get caught, but I had. There's 2 cool.
Oh no,
ones
there's
that are government related.
That got caught.
That
the cloud engineer got 2 years for wiping someone.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
this
right,
isn't
this
really
one.
like, it's not like satisfying, but it is like FAFO, as they say on the interwebs.
Indeed, definitely.
So
2 years
it's
and 500 grand, wasn't it? Or was it?
529 grand, or roughly 2 bitcoins at current price. No, I'm just kidding. So Miklos Daniel Brody, a cloud engineer, was sentenced to 2 years in prison and restitution of 529K for wiping the code repositories of his former employer in retaliation for being fired. First Republic Bank was a commercial bank in the U.S. employing over 7,000 people. The bank closed and was sold to J.P. Morgan Chase, along with every other company in the U.S. Basically, he was fired on March 11th, 2020, and then he connected to. He was fired. Sorry, I'm reading this live. He was fired for connecting a USB drive containing pornography to company computers. That's your standard disgruntled employee right there.
Oh, yeah.
Probably loading it into Active Directory.
Did you hear his? I don't know if this article has like the story of like what he said he was like actually doing. Is that he's like, oh, like my friends gave me a USB drive with a copy of The Matrix on it, like that movie from.
So he was trying to
23
watch The Matrix at work.
He was trying to watch a movie 24 years old. He's trying to watch a 24-year-old movie on like off of like a USB drive. Plug that in, and he's like, yeah. And then I just started moving files around, and like maybe something tripped. He had like this cockamamie
Dealing with
story.
enough users, I'd completely believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he looked at here's basically the like play by play. He looked at Porn Network supposedly, or maybe he was watching The Matrix. Either way, definitely not the kind of good look that you want for your employer. Then he was fired. Then he refused to turn his work laptop and instead used his still valid account. Cough cough. This is where the security team is supposed to step in to access the bank's computer network and cause damages estimated to be above $220,000, including deleting bank's code repositories, running a malicious script to delete logs, leaving taunts within the bank's code for former colleagues, and impersonating other bank employees by opening sessions in their name. He also emailed himself proprietary bank code that he had worked on as an employee, which was valued at over $5,000. Some say that was just a script to email his boss saying, I did a lot of work today. Yeah, it was called dar.sh. So there you go. Yeah, I guess like I'm surprised. I feel like this is way stiffer of a sentence than I would have guessed, but here we are.
Well, I think he lied to Secret Service as well.
That's probably what got him. Because
I
mean,
think
I've
that's what
heard
got
so
him,
many
is
stories
the
like
lying
this.
to the authorities.
He
Yeah.
said, so he said his laptop was stolen from his car. So it's just like, oh, my friends gave me the porn. It's also like, someone stole my laptop. Which I will say, honestly, though, because I got hacked is a great defense. Like, that is going to be my default legal defense no matter what happens. I'm going to say I got hacked, and hopefully that works out. But yeah, you got to be careful because it's pretty easy to tell if your laptop was stolen or not when it's like probably in your house.
I'm trying to remember the law that went into effect in Florida, and it's like the Data Recovery and Abuse Act or something. Kelly, maybe you have heard of it. It's escaping me. But one of the key changes a few years ago, and it's related to this article, was if your access isn't terminated, but you were informed that you are no longer an employee, it used to be that the onus was on the companies. And it was like, well, you didn't remove their access, so the assumption is they still have access, however it is that they've separated from the company. The law changed that if you were informed you are terminated from the company and then you log in later, that's then a CFAA crime. Because it's like, nope, in our state, that's not how that works. But I'm trying to remember.
And as a pro tip for security teams out there, if an employee had porn on their USB drive and then you fire them, you probably should expect the worst there. You should probably just go ahead and lock that account the second that that email goes out.
UBA should have been high on that guy, right? Like,
well, I mean, honestly, it's a thing though. Like,
check out his emails, check everything out, see what he's trying to else transfer out. What does he have access to?
I mean, anytime an employee, anytime
Yeah.
an employee is terminated, HR needs to work very closely with security to make sure this doesn't happen. This is every HR team and every security team need to be in lockstep, disabling accounts at the right times, disabling access tokens. Like, it's just, you can't just be like, the account's disabled, the session tokens are still valid. Don't worry about those.
I don't think I've ever talked about, but doing like internal investigations is like, as a blue teamer, is one of the like funnest things I've ever I got to do, because you actually get a target for once and you understand what's going, and you come to a conclusion at the end rather than just like reading logs all day. But like, I don't know, maybe the server's hacked, maybe it's like going through it, but it's like a little bit weird just because.
Yeah, it's like timestamp 422 UTC. The employee Googled how to delete repositories.
Oh yeah.
423. The employee ran rare.sh or whatever it was.
Yeah, and even says like
424.
it even says like what windows are in focus too, to where it goes. It's like, okay, they switched over here. They copied something and they dropped it into Slack right over here, and you see all of that information. That yes, so for the audience listening out there, if you have a good infosec team, they can see everything you do on the company network. So
and decent DLP tools.
Also, it doesn't really matter, because if you delete stuff, you don't need that close of logs to be like, where'd all the repos go?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Ian, was that the law you were looking at, or is there a different one? I put it in.
I was looking at Cadre. Yeah. No. I put a chat in as well. I found it. The law that I was remembering was the Computer Abuse and Data Recovery Act, CADRA, and I put links in the comments there. But yeah, that one had a bunch of changes in Florida, and one of those that was big, and I remember getting a briefing on this years ago. But that was one of the big changes. Was you can't just be like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to connect anymore. Whoopsie-doo. You can't do that anymore.
So, okay, can we talk real quick, just hypothetically, about what hacker jail should be like? What is it like?
Hacker jail?
I'm trying to think of like the worst environment for a hacker to be in. It's like only Perl programming, maybe?
No, it's
Or
fixing
Lua?
your elderly relatives' phone or technology.
You have to work like it's like
It's
there's
nothing but
definitely a private
malfunctioning
prison out
printers
there
at your
that's
grandma's house.
Yeah.
there's a private prison out there that's like, we're gonna make hacker jail, and it's gonna be one of those for-profit jails, and it's running IT security support.
Entry level help desk. You have to call them.
Help
Did you try to turn it off? Turn it back on again. Hang up.
Oh, and you can go to the internet to get tutorials to fix the printers and all that in this jail, but it's only via a 14.4 modem that's also hooked to the visitor phone. So anytime somebody picks it up, it kills it.
Oh
No.
Stop calling about your
300 baud modem. 300 baud.
14.4.
14.4 is too fast
You're
for
weak on
300
pride.
baud.
Do you remember when Mitnick was put in jail? He wasn't allowed to touch anything electronic.
Yeah. The lawyers convinced the judge he could whistle the nuclear launch codes.
Yep.
That's true. That's an absolute statement.
So there were two government hacks in this past week that both I think are worthwhile to talk about. One, I'm not gonna throw the link in, or I'll throw the link in chat for the first one. The first one is supposedly the Ukraine hacked Russia's tax services and theoretically brought it down for a month. That one's from Recorded Future. Ukraine intelligence claims cyber attack against Russia state tax service. So pretty much they just went in there and nuked the tax service. I thought this was gold. Like, could you imagine if the IRS got ransomwared? Like, just complete round of the stop, like complete stop. What is it? February
Imagine
or March?
that's a specific fantasy of mine. What?
Right, yeah.
But,
Don't talk about my fetishes, though.
and also not just that they got ransomware, but they didn't have any sort of backups. Because, yes, I can imagine like the IRS getting ransomware, but not having any sort of recovery process from it and just going like, oops, I guess everything's lost.
All of our
I would
backups were McDonald's,
imagine-
so when that shut down, we
No.
lost access.
I would imagine they'd get ransomware and they'd be like, nah, it's okay. We got paperwork for everything. Everybody mail us in your taxes.
Yeah.
That would be my first thought.
That would, yeah.
We got to see
The
if my...
second one.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we have to see if my soundboard works. Hold on, let's see. Can we hear this one?
Oh, go for it.
We have to think back a little bit. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
The reason this is even funnier is go all the way back to, was it 2018, 2017, and not Petya. What did Russia attack?
Oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah.
You're
So for those
right.
that don't know, Not Petya was spread by Russia attacking a private company that the country of Ukraine put out like an RFP for. And imagine in the U.S., because this is more of a U.S.-centric show, but in the U.S. we have to kind of figure out our taxes. We don't just get a bill from the government. So imagine in Ukraine if they were buying something like TurboTax to do their taxes. But instead, Ukraine says, we're going to fund this publicly. And we're going to put out an RFP and private companies bid on it to build this tax offer. And this one company's won year over year over year, whatever. So the Russians said, well, wait a minute. If we can compromise that company, we can get on every desktop of every business and every individual that has to pay taxes. So this strike against their tax organization is absolutely a vendetta. It's absolutely
Hacker
going
karma restored.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That was
I'm so glad I
putting
had the
dots
Wayback
together.
Machine already loaded there, so I could do that.
I will say, like, it's really interesting how now, like, we're in a state of cyber warfare, whatever you want to call it, where like nation states are just like, that was us. They're just fine with it.
It's better than kinetic warfare, blowing up a building, saying that was us. Try it again; it'll be bigger. I'll take this all day.
Well, that is what they're doing as well. Just
true. But
Russia versus Ukraine is a long thing, but yeah, I mean it's just interesting to see a nation state just being like, it was us, suck it, like yeah.
Can we go back to fantasizing about not paying our? Can we fantasize about not paying our taxes just a little bit longer?
That would be nice.
No, that's the only thing.
Okay, I've turned this fantasy into a horror story. Imagine if the government actually built a tax program. Like how bad it would be. Just
it could be so easy too. It could be. It just doesn't. They just don't.
Like, would it be? It would be like you have to actually use dial-up to file your taxes, like 100%, or fax it. You could fax your taxes. It could be called TaxFax. That could be the site.
That could be it.
Okay, Wade. Take it to the next one.
Okay, on the same like avenue, right? Iran recently got hacked, where 70% of their gas stations have been taken offline. Supposedly, it is Israel, right? They actually go into it, I believe. I don't have this one up. Where is it? They have the name of the team who they think did it, but this one I think would actually cause more damage than actual tax revenue service, which would be pretty crazy. Like, imagine there was a gas scare, like that has happened to us theoretically, I guess, with who's the big oil company that got hacked?
Colonial Pipeline.
Colonial Pipeline, right? And everyone went and bought gas because they all got scared. Could you imagine 70% of gas stations just going offline? Like how everyone would just like.
I mean, I have a bunch of grocery bags full of gas, so I'm good.
I was going to say, I live in Florida. That happens a couple times a summer where you just show up and there's no gas because everyone filled their tank.
Really? Oh yeah.
More than a couple times, Ian.
That hurricane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kelly knows. Yeah, absolutely.
We had a little scare this past weekend with that tropical storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I went up to
disasters.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Florida's kind of a disaster, but we love it. It's our disaster.
Amen.
I don't think I've ever gone to a gas station and them be completely out. I've gone to Costco gas and there'd be like a 2-hour wait, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I'll pay the extra 10 cents.
I was just at Wawa around the corner before the tropical storm came through, and I was like, why isn't this pumping? And they had just run out of regular, and I had to do plus. And I was like, huh.
Wow, first world problems.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He says in his, sequined jacket.
Well, hey, listen, those reindeer, they don't pull as hard anymore. Okay, yeah. You had to augment it with a little motor. I've seen Santa Claus in Santa Claus 2 and Santa Claus Home Alone 2, or I don't know, the one Elf. Tim Allen Grunting 3. I forget the name of the movie.
Tim Allen Grunting 3.
So, okay, here's a PSA for everyone. Discord has added security key support for all users. So if you've got your old Fido 2s, go and hook them up to your Discord. I think this is just a good idea for every company to do, but Discord in particular is one. What?
You can use your flipper as a
key?
I just set it up today to add that as another key. So I
definitely don't want to carry the flipper around. It's just so big and bulky.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
you can
goodness.
get
Do it.
you can get YubiKeys for incredibly cheap, and they don't have batteries, and they're like NFC or USB-C. That
Yeah, those
just
two.
buy a bunch of them. It's my advice: buy at least 2 or 3 of them because you can lose them, and if you do, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and my other thought with this, with when I went through and did the setup, it's really kind of a flaw people need to be aware of with when setting these things up. Because when you set them up, one of the first things it does is it gives you all your backup codes. Where are most people going to save those backup codes when they set it up on their computer?
Printed onto.
okay,
piece of paper.
I put it right under my keyboard.
Yeah, no, most people are just going to go follow the instruction with like yeah,
Save it
I'll
to your
save
computer?
a copy of it. Yeah, sure, just hit the download button. You put it right in your downloads directory, and you forget about it. You go, sure, I'll take a copy of that because it downloads like a TXT file for you, and then it's like, okay, I need to take the TXT file and put it somewhere else, or print it out, or copy it out. But a lot of users, if they go to this degree of creating it, they're just going to put it on their desktop. And guess what happens?
If you're going to
average-
choose between printing it
gets
and
the,
downloading it, printing it is way better because
Oh, yeah.
the people that have access to your downloads are much more than the people who have access to your physical location. Hopefully, unless
You
you like,
y'all got printers? Like, who has a working
they're
printer? in their
$20. You get
house?
like a $20 laser printer on Amazon that lasts like 10
And
years
it-
in toner.
I have never had that printer last that long. They die so quickly. Like,
No,
I think I've
dude,
gone
you-
through 3 printers.
So
Well,
For
you're
some,
buying the
like,
wrong
I
printers.
eat them here.
Well,
I must send me your
go
best.
get
printer
the
suggestions,
brother
everybody.
laser jet that I have next.
If you want the YOLO version, it's just a little notebook in your safe that has all your 2-factor codes written down. I mean, that's fine too.
So I
I'm not
did
gonna
want
write
to pull
down
up here
that hole in the
before.
fake key.
I want to just make sure.
You only
everyone-
need one key. You only need one.
Sarsaparilla put in here. Flipper U2F is not secure per flipper. So I guess.
Yeah, I didn't
Extracted.
see that part yet. But what does the key extraction look like? Because if somebody gets a hold of my flipper, then I'm sorry, I'm going to beat you to Discord and just revoke it.
Right. So
Yeah, but
Wow.
so on the YubiKeys they have a PIN that you have to enter before you can authenticate. So I don't know if that applies to flippers. Don't put
Yeah,
your keys on a flipper. That's
mine's
not
fine.
actual advice. That's just this is cool.
right. Yeah. What were you saying, Kelly? Thought you were saying-
Well, we were talking about using the flipper versus using paper. I think the easiest thing is just to flip out altogether.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just lose your
Freak
mind.
out.
Totally fine.
Yes, panic is always the first step of any incident response plan. I've seen many.
That's true. And the first panic
okay,
is,
I
"Where's
got-
the incident response plan. Where is that?
Going back to my talk last week when we were talking about best condiments, ketchup and mustard and everything, did you see Kraft Heinz is reviewing claims of cyber attack to their internal systems?
Oh my God, 57 different flavors of cyber attack?
Yeah,
No, they
the
made
people
that-
heard our call for mustard is the primary condiment of all, and so they're attacking ketchup.
No, they made that clear ketchup. They made the clear ketchup, and then people are like,
Listen,
this is
you
enough
can
wrong.
come for American tax agencies, but if you come for our condiments, we will fight back.
Right.
If you take away our mayonnaise and our ketchup, I mean, what do we have left as a society?
It's true.
And
Barbecue
macaroni and
sauce.
cheese. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that Kraft
Yes,
is Kraft macaroni and cheese.
cheese.
Oh man, I mean, what would we do? So basically, this has been claimed by the Snatch ransomware gang, who doesn't like mayo. They specifically call that out.
Do they really? Oh,
I'm
seriously?
joking. I just made that up.
No, just run with it. That was serious. That's true.
So they've also hit a Wisconsin school district in October 2022. I can talk. And gained the attention of the U.S. Senate after stealing sensitive data of more than 1.2 million patients on an attack on the largest hospital in Florida, or one of. So basically, now that they've finally targeted mayonnaise, they're basically APT 69420.
Ketchup. They like mayonnaise. They actually hacked into QP Mayo and patched their systems and then came out. Just to make sure.
So they hate mustard and ketchup, but they like mayonnaise.
Yeah.
So
Only
I
QP
know we
mayonnaise,
are-
though. That's like high
we're-
level mayonnaise.
We're being a bit cheeky about this, but Kraft Heinz is a much bigger organization than we think it is.
Yes.
And the fact that now they're targeting the food sector does concern me because I can't remember if food is actually listed as critical infrastructure or not.
I believe it is. I believe food supply chain, because when I was working at HD Supply, I was part of InfraGard, and I believe food and farm supply chain is. but
So there's
Remember
a
when
bunch
the-
of breaches.
Alex
There's a-
Trapp has the ultimate there. The APT was based in Chicago, designed to keep consumers from putting ketchup on their hot dogs.
Nice. Yeah, no. So, okay, I'm just going to list all the companies that were breached. And if any of them stick out to anyone, feel free to Google it. But so we've got Mr. Cooper, who I've never heard of, but
Yes.
apparently
Oh,
it's not a person.
that's
It's a mortgage
No,
giant.
it's
Mortgage
not.
company,
It's a
yeah.
mortgage giant. Yes.
It's bigger
So
than
there's
you
that.
think it is.
There's Mr.
is very
Cooper.
big.
There's
Theme
Mr.
for today.
MongoDB. I'm not just going to say everything is Mr. I don't know why a company has to have a gender. I'm very confused. Basically, MongoDB, Vans, and Supreme VF Corp. Apparently, those are the same company. Who knew? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
I didn't know. No, yeah.
my
Good on Vans.
I have a post-show update on that.
Okay.
Does it involve
Under
a
Friend
cash guy?
EA, not for the friends that are listening, but the friends that are on.
Okay.
right, keep going.
Delta
What's
Dental
next,
of
please?
Colorado. Or sorry, California.
okay, good.
I lied. That was the wrong C state. I'm
they
sorry,
got- they-
Delta. Someone's stock
They
is
definitely
tanking.
got
It's not
my.
fault.
They got my cavity information for sure. Like that. I'm screwed.
You're gonna get a fish that's like, we heard you like cavities. Have you tried fishing? Easy Park, never heard of it, but I'm sure that somehow it has like 300,000 customers. They're in the past, the parking breaches have been particularly useful to us OSINT practitioners because they have VINs, license plate numbers, mobile phones. Because you're going to park, you're probably going to type in your real phone number. It's bad. And then Sony again somehow, like it just is the gift that keeps on giving. But specifically targeting Insomniac Games. And then I guess there's also some really old ones. Some new clues have been released of the Target breach from 2013. I would say that Target breach is one of the first breaches that got like cybersecurity budgets really opened up across the board, at least in my opinion.
Did anybody read this one?
I read through it
It's
while
too
we were
long.
chatting. Yeah. Long story
It's too
short.
long.
Yeah. It is a little long. I mean, it's a Krebs article. So, but yeah, no. Long story short is there was this one line in there, rescatator or rescator, that they just could not figure out, and over the last decade or whatever, they finally think they figured it out, and that line is a person, and they've traced back an online handle. So, long story short is there's somebody out there who is just not letting a single scrap of this die. They want to know everything. And yeah, so maybe helpful first recap. Rescatators thought to be so closely tied to the target breach. For starters, the string rescator was in the malware. And now, so they think it was a hacker out of Ukraine. Back when that happened, it was money mules and fraudulent wire transfer. So pretty crazy.
This is
There was also
the
a
Target data breach. Was
Go
like
ahead.
one of the data breaches I tell all my mentees to like learn back and front, right? Because like one of the good interview questions, they'll ask you like, all right, tell me about a breach, and Target's information is completely out there, so you can learn about the whole breach, learn about the fallout of what happened with the breach, and it's all on the internet. It's a good one to know.
Yeah,
If anybody doesn't know it.
Yeah, for I agree with Wade 100%, because Equifax and Target are the two, and I'm sorry, three SolarWinds as well received congressional oversight, which means after 90 days, all the investigation done by the government with all their ability to leverage legal mechanisms was published for the public. So you can go look up those reports, and they're hundreds of pages long with people and interviews and all of it, and you can see all the death by 1,000 cuts that led to the big thing. So those three: SolarWinds, Equifax, and Target.
Okay, so Mr. Claus,
Yes.
you said you wanted to, there's a message I'm reading on my screen here that says you want to talk about Santa NORAD.
I do. I want to end
Well-
with something kind of fun that's cybersecurity related. So many of you may be familiar with this, but for those that aren't, Ryan, why don't you pull up the was it ABC Chicago story, I think, on this? So, for those of you who aren't familiar, there is a cybersecurity angle, or at least a security angle, to what I'm about to talk about. So, oops, wrong number. So if you are unfamiliar, NORAD every year, the people out at Cheyenne Mountain, I think we all know about. They're buried in the mountain, monitoring the traffic, the air traffic, and what's overhead. including missiles and military jets and all that good stuff. They do that, right? Well, one of the other things they do around this time of year is they track Santa Claus. They go through and they actually grant Santa access to U.S. airspace, unlimited during that time, and they track Santa throughout there. And it actually came from this really cute story, a misprint. Essentially what happened was this: a department store back in then, you can look at the article, I think it was back in the 50s or 60s, it'll say probably right at the top. But back in the 50s or 60s, misprinted a phone number, and it was a phone number to tell kids to call, and somebody would answer and tell them where Santa was. So they'd know, like, oh, I got to go to bed because Santa's on the way to the East Coast, or maybe he just left the bar. I don't know. So they'd call that number. Yeah, it was a misprint. It was actually a classified number that was a direct dial to a general at their desk at NORAD. So
Can you imagine you're sitting at your desk? This
Right.
is Colonel whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know where Santa is. Who is this?
maybe-
How'd
maybe
you
with
get this
a general.
number?
Where is Santa?
Yeah, it was just up on the screen though. But yeah, whatever it was, they call the number. Yeah, Colonel Harry Shoup at the Continental Air Defense Command, what NORAD used to be called. And you hear a little voice on the end of the phone, "Where's Santa?" And instead of going, "How did you receive this classified number? We're sending Black Hawk helicopters to retrieve you." And instead of that, they said, "Well, Santa's overhead. They're bearing this. They're going this speed." And then more phone numbers came in. And for the past, I think it's like 70 years now, NORAD does a thing every year that you can call or go to their website. Ryan, can we pull up the other website, the NORAD Track Santa? So yeah, NORAD has a Santa tracking website, and you can go check out where Santa is throughout the world and share that with your believers and non-believers and whomever.
I think we should launch a targeted first strike on Santa.
A targeted first strike on Santa. That's right. How do we
Just
know?
Send him some presents.
That's right. And if you like that storyline about sending him some presents, you need to go watch the Futurama Christmas episodes where it's Santa bent on destroying everyone. But yeah, no, it's just a very interesting way to end the year, I think. It's a story that I love, that somehow a top secret phone number to NORAD got published accidentally, and it created a really fun tradition for people to call in and see their military services as more than just bombing folks.
On every military person's desk, there's the red phone and there's the candy cane.
Oh yeah,
phone.
there's the peppermint striped phone.
Yep, peppermint striped phone. Yep.
Right. Hey, I think
Yeah, and I love that. That's
yeah,
great.
that's just great.
The Mexican cartel is really the one who's tracking Santa.
Mexican
Yeah, if NORAD's data isn't good enough, you can go purchase Titan from a Mexican cartel, and they'll tell you exactly where Santa is.
Where Santa
You can
is.
text him and say, "What you doing?"
No,
Where you
I
at,
think
Santa?
the Mexican cartel would love to have Santa's distribution system.
that's right. That's right.
They're like,
That
tell
is
us how you
true.
do it.
That's so
His
weird.
overhead's low. His delivery cost is really low.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it, right? They're flying over. They got that great distribution system, and suddenly, like, the IRS is going, Santa's brought a lot more snow through customs recently. I don't know what that means, but they're working a lot with the cartels. Moving on.
If you get if you get a brick wrapped in brown tape dropped down your fireplace this Christmas, do not consume it. It is probably forward that to law enforcement. So
No, you test it for fentanyl first. Then
Right, and yeah.
there's test kits
Hey,
available.
Wade, tell me you're from Tell me you're from California without telling me you're from California.
Tell me you went to a music festival. All right, let's wrap it up. I feel like this is a good place to end the show for the year. Thank you everyone for listening for a whole year. Obviously, we know everyone that's here was here all year.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for being a host for a whole year. I feel like we had a good year. We don't have a good montage or highlight reel, but I feel like there were some moments.
Oh, that can we put that on someone in the community? Make a montage.
No, that's way too much work to
lot
put
of
on
work.
anyone.
They'd
I
have
feel
to
like
go out
Ryan
2
Ryan
hours
can-
of
Ryan-
Ryan has Kurt has memes. He can do it.
Well,
All right,
maybe
never
perhaps we can ask the Discord community if they've got something they would like to see in the upcoming year, or maybe articles or topics we haven't talked about. We spent a lot of time talking about breaches. Are there other topics we don't spend enough time on, like GRC?
Like GRC, yeah, there we go.
No, I just kidding.
That's great for. That's great
All right,
for
have a
like
good year.
before. Yeah. Call it. Kill it with fire. Bye, everyone. See you in
Kill it with the
2024.
jolliest fire you can find, Ryan.